good evening, and good afternoon from wherever you're joining us. Welcome once again to the Intergenerational and Youth Briefing organized by the Intergenerational and Youth Subcommittee of the 2024 Civil Society Conference that is scheduled to happen in May in Nairobi. We want to thank all of you for registering and tuning in, and want to say this is a platform open for everyone. It is intergenerational, and so you are free to share the link with someone from your household. Let them join in, whether it's your mother or it's your last born child. Please let them join in and hear what it is they can do at the global space. And this is at the global, but we know that we start from the grassroots, so everyone is welcome. We are going to let you know how to be able to engage in UN-related policy processes, and let you know that it is not gatekept at all. It is open and free for everyone to engage. I'm going to let everyone in the panel, the co-chairs, introduce themselves briefly, just so we know who the organizers are. So Mai, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. Salam, my name is Mai. I'm from Egypt. I'm a subcommittee co-chair for Intergenerational and Youth for the 2024 UN Civil Society Conference happening in Nairobi in support of the Summit of the Future. And I'm so excited about this briefing, and I'm especially excited about the Intergenerational and Youth Subcommittee activities that will be happening during the conference in May.
Hi everyone, my name is Kyra Eubanks. I'm a global youth advocate as well as an award-winning pageant queen. I always love to share that because I do believe in the grassroots approach, but also finding ways to get involved in intergovernmental processes. So I'm proud to be one of the subcommittee co-chairs for this subcommittee, and I can't wait to share with you a little bit more about what we have planned for the intergenerational and youth civil society attendees who will be attending the conference both virtually as well as in person.
The 2024 Civil Society Conference is in support of the Summit of the Future. It will be held in Nairobi on 9th and 10th May under the title Shaping a Future of Global and Sustainable Progress. It is a premier event in the civil society calendar at the United Nations, and it is in support again of the Summit of the Future that will happen later in 2024. We have a lot of history with regards to civil society engagement. I want to note that the Civil Society Conference always happens annually, and this year is first time that is coming to Africa, and Kenya is honored to host it. And so we will quickly want to let you know that we have websites that you can visit to get information about the summit, about the Civil Society Conference. Engage as you have come into this briefing. Right now, we have other activities that will allow you to be a part of the conference, even if you will not make it in the actual conference. We have offsite events and workshops or exhibits and competitions that we will talk about later.
Thank you so much, Terry, for a great introduction and a little bit of information about registration. Now we will move to the Summit of the Future, which I'm 100% sure that most of you already know about it. And if you don't know about it, don't worry, we got you covered. And also, I will be talking on why we are talking about the Summit of the Future. Do you know the link between the Summit of the Future and the 2024 UN Civil Society Conference happening in Nairobi? So the Summit of the Future, it's scheduled to happen in September 2024, and it's a high-level event convened by the UN. What's the objective of this event? The Summit of the Future, or as you can see, the abbreviation is SOTF, aims to forge a new international consensus on delivering a better present and safeguarding the future. It provides a once-in-a-generation opportunity to amend the trust and demonstrate that international cooperation can effectively tackle the current and emerging challenges. I know that we already have, or the global system already has many existing agreements and commitments like the UN Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the 2030 Agenda, and Paris Agreement, and many more commitments. However, the Summit of the Future focuses on how to better cooperate and how to deliver these aspirations and goals. And also, it seeks to address the implementation gap for these commitments and enhance the ability of the world system to meet these international commitments. And now about the outcome of the Summit of the Future will be a document, an action-oriented document that's called Pact for the Future. And it will be annexed with a global digital compact that's referred in our common agenda by the Secretary General, and a declaration on the future generation, which we hope they will deliver a UN for the people and the planet in the 21st century and beyond. The document is negotiated and endorsed by member states. And remember, when I say something like it's negotiated and endorsed by member states, by countries, it's currently negotiated in the lead up and during the Summit of the Future in September. And a little bit of an overview about the Pact of the Future. It has a chapeau and 5 chapters. And these 5 chapters corresponds to different global concerns. We have a chapter on sustainable development and financing for development, another chapter on international peace and security, another chapter on science, technology, and innovation and digital cooperation, and finally, not finally, actually, the 4th chapter is youth and future generations, and the final chapter is transforming global governance. We're not going into deep details about the chapters because this webinar is supposed to speak, it's about the UN Civil Society Conference, so I'm walking us quickly through the Summit of the Future as a background. We have some challenges, but also we have some opportunities for the Summit of the Future and for the commitments that we need to make. Currently, we are not on track to meet the global goals that we have already set for ourselves with the SDGs. And the speed and the complex nature of developments have outpaced our system. And also the benefits and opportunities of progress are unevenly spread. And unfortunately, majority of people are left behind. So the summit, and this is why it's a summit, it's actually an opportunity to put ourselves back on a better pace. And now I will give a little bit of a brief about the Civil Society Conference, the 2024 UN Civil Society Conference happening in Nairobi, in support of the Summit of the Future, because civil society is an essential partner in global endeavor, and civil society must come up with solutions and approaches from all sectors in the society to collaborate and to network for an inclusive multilateralism. Because, as I mentioned, the negotiation process for the Pact of the Future is primarily intergovernmental, and this is why we need the civil society. We need to have a global moment for the civil society, and this global moment, it's happening in Nairobi in May. And the Civil Society Conference aims to increase awareness, ambition, and accountability for the Summit of the Future, and to build multi-stakeholder impact coalition. And I want you to remember the impact coalitions. My fellow co-chair, Cairo, will be talking about the impact coalition. The impact coalitions is set to champion, act on, and push forward big-ticket reforms that's proposed in consensus language of the Pact of the Future, and also to innovate the way civil society and other stakeholders interact with the intergovernmental process of the negotiations that's happening right now. Cairo will be sharing more details about the intergenerational and youth subcommittee activities and how actually you can engage with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mai. And I see that there are so many great questions in the chat, and I want to let you know that we actually have subcommittee members right now who are collecting the questions. So if there are questions that are not necessarily able to be answered in this 1 hour briefing, please rest assured that we are collecting these answers, these questions, and then we want to follow up post briefing to ensure that, if there's any clarification that's needed, that we can provide that to you, because we want to make sure that you are informed, you're excited, and you are ready for the 2024 UN Civil Society Conference. There's been quite a bit of buzz around this term impact coalitions, and people are like, what are impact coalitions and what does this mean? So before going into impact coalitions, I first want to give a little bit more of an overview as to who we are as a subcommittee and what our role is. So what does it mean to be a part of the Intergenerational and Youth Subcommittee in terms of planning for the Civil Society Conference? Really, we have several roles that we play. We provide input recommendations throughout the conference that are related to the planning as well as the programming for the Civil Society Conference to really ensure that the conference is as inclusive as possible for civil society and of civil society, as well as designing and implementing activities during the conference and even post-conference to support civil society's packed recommendations leading up to the Summit of the Future. When it comes to the impact coalitions, and I don't know if anyone was able to see this as yet, but there was a call that went out this week. And actually, just as a bit of an aside, I actually spoke on a panel yesterday for CSW 68, and I was talking about the impact coalitions, and people were getting so excited. So for those who are new to this term, what an impact coalition is it will actually be made up of civil society, think tanks, academia, private entities, UN entities, and or diverse member states. So you can imagine this impact coalition really coming together from all different areas of society as one unit. And what these impact coalitions will be doing is really providing structural reform recommendations and input to propose for civil society to member states to include in the Pact for the Future at the Summit of the Future. And if you did not know, you can actually create an impact coalition. It's not just relegated to specific groups or specific organizations. You don't necessarily have to adhere to a strict criteria outside of what is set out and outlined in the impact coalition's criteria. But let's say, for example, that schools, government officials, individuals who run nonprofit or organizations or civil society organizations that are geared towards the topic of your choice. You can put together a proposal and you can actually create an impact coalition before the conference or even during the conference. So when you're thinking about the proposals that you might be wanting to create, and you might think, oh my goodness, I want to create an impact coalition. I already know organizations that I can come together with, and we can be a complete a suggestion, recommendation, voice to be reckoned with. We will be able to share recommendations specifically on our targeted interests and that we already advocate on, and we can be able to support that at the conference. That is great. So just know that the outcomes from the impact coalitions will actually result in an impact for the future outcome package that will articulate the objectives of the conference that are that are all inclusive, impactful, as well as innovative. And so you can really create your own impact coalition. There is some criteria that I do want to read out. I realize that there are quite a bit of forms, there are quite a bit of links, there are different deadlines for each of these different opportunities to really engage at the conference and really play an active role. That being said, to align with some of these principles, the following criteria must be met in order to be considered an impact coalition. Some coalitions will be formed actually before the conference is shared, others at the conference, and also others after as well. And there's actually already a frequently asked question or FAQ on the conference outcome, so you already have an idea of what your impact coalition will look like before you send in your proposal. It's great. And there's several different pieces. So one important aspect is that at least 5 civil society organizations that are coming from different UN regions, to the extent possible, with at least 3 being from the regions of the Global South. So having a balance of organizations or institutions or member states that have a balance between those that are representing the Global North and the Global South on these issues, right? Organizations that consider themselves global would need to identify a primary region of operation. So if you have global organizations that you work with, and some may be based in Asia, some may be based in East Africa, right? Being able to come together and realize, okay, who else do I need to partner with in order to create an impact coalition? Civil society actors must comprise at least 3 different types of constituencies. There's a list of major groups and other stakeholders in the high-level political forum, or HLPF space, which is a starting point to be able to understand what these teams will look like, right? And so in order to be able to send in a proposal, you will share a work plan that will outline some of the ideas that you have for engagement, beginning with the conference. So let's say, for example, you want to create an impact coalition right now. You're like, I already know who I want to have within my team. I already know the organizations and the member states. I already know the different actors that are going to play a big role in this impact coalition. You can start planning it now. And what you would do is then create a work plan that's outlining that proposed engagement, as I said. And then what will happen is that once you submit that proposal, then there will be a selection process. And those who are actually shortlisted will be invited to contribute further towards the conference. So please note that at this time, there's no financial support that is being provided at this stage. And this is very important information. Some of this information, when you read it again on the forms, you'll say, I already read this, or, oh, we already talked about this. And I want to be able to really reiterate that, that at this time, that is the case, that if there is external funding, or if there are potential donors or supporters that you could be able to lean on or start to work with at this time, please be sure to do so, because we really want to be able to see you there. Unfortunately, there are just limited resources for the conference, and we just have to be able to make sure that we can take care of what needs to be done in terms of logistics and planning for the conference itself. So this particular Impact Coalition form is due on April 8th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's New York time, to be featured in the conference from May 9th through 10th. And if you are interested in joining an Impact Coalition, please don't hesitate to apply. Other ways to participate in the Civil Society Conference. There are civil society workshops. So you can host a workshop at the conference. Like, that is so exciting. And so you just have to remember that your workshop has to align with 3 core objectives. The first is to be inclusive. So exhibits should really aim to broaden awareness, ambition, and accountability for the Summit of the Future. We encourage proposals that amplify diverse voices and initiatives, contributing to an inclusive pact for the future. Proposals should also be impactful, focusing on utilizing the Nairobi conference to foster impact. And I don't know if you noticed this, but impact, pact is actually in all caps. So you'll see that it's all about making impact for the pact. So, to foster impact in support of the Summit of the Future among member states, civil society, academia, think tanks, foundations, and the private sector. We encourage proposals that support impactful action toward the ambition and implementation of the Intergovernmental Pact for the Future. And last but certainly not least, we're looking for innovation. We want proposals that are innovative, that offer new ways for civil society to interact with intergovernmental processes, embody intergovernmental cooperation, and showcase diverse expertise within a multi-stakeholder forum. So if this is interesting to you, please note that the Civil Society Conference, the deadline to be able to submit civil society workshops for the conference is March 31st, 2024 at 11:59 Eastern Daylight Time, so EDT. Now, there's also a call for off-site events. And so as we're going through this quickly, you'll see that there's quite a bit of information about the Summit of the Future, the Path of the Future. pre-conference all the way to the Civil Society Conference, the Summit of the Future, and then the Pact for the Future. And I know I was talking quite a bit about the impact coalitions, and so this is directly related. And I know Mai was giving an overview of the Summit of the Future, as well as the differences between both processes. I do want to say, I love what you said, Luanda. Can you talk about incorporating students, maybe campus students as well in such initiatives? Listen, Wanda, we got you. Okay, we have some exciting initiatives that we cannot wait to share with you. I'm going to try to go through some of the calls for proposals or submissions that are very exciting for all of our attendees, but also note that we have some special things that we're doing just for youth that I cannot wait to share with you. So please hang on tight. So you'll see that there are different ways to be able to get involved with the Civil Society Conference. So I was talking about, how to participate, how to be able to host a workshop. And also it's very important to note that with the workshop, it's online only or in-person only. And I believe Terry had already shared that, but it's not going to be hybrid. It's going to be online only during the conference or in-person only. We also have a call for offsite events. So events that will be happening outside of the UN Civil Society Conference main location in Nairobi, and it's oftentimes in the lead up to the conference. So there might be events that are happening slightly before the conference that are in support of the conference. There might have been events that have already happened, right? So I shared, for example, that I had given a shout out to this Civil Society Conference and the Impact Coalition specifically in my speech yesterday. But if I had had a whole event that was specifically just for the conference, I could be able to submit as an offsite event, even if it happened before the conference. So the submission guidelines are that these are due April 7th at 23:59, so that is 11:59 Eastern Standard Time, New York time. And with offsite with some of the offsite events, like I said, if they're happening during the conference, it might be at a different location. Maybe you find a venue. Maybe maybe you're outside at a beautiful place where you want to be able to host something that is about the environment or in storytelling or whatever it is that you want to do. I don't want to give you any ideas, because the reality is that you already have ideas as to what you want to do, and we want to hear from you. So if there are events that you want to do, maybe not necessarily at the United Nations office in Nairobi, but maybe adjacent, maybe across the street, maybe a little ways away, but still in close proximity, or wherever you want to host an event. Please note that you can share details about any activity, event in person or online that's already been concluded, or an event that is upcoming. And so we'll be sharing this link, and I see, oh my goodness, thank you so much, Mai. Yes, thank you so much for including that link. So you'll be able to add the ideas that you have. All right. And then for exhibits, conference exhibits, like, oh my goodness, I love conference exhibits. Like the UN headquarters yesterday, I mean, the exhibits were so powerful. It was talking about Vital Voices Project and women who were painted, their portraits, and then talking about some of the SDGs that they're very passionate about and feel and want to empower communities with. And then you could scan the QR code and you could be able to listen to the woman speaking and get to hear her voice and get to hear it from a first person narrative, right? So that's an example of an exhibit that I've seen before, but maybe you have another idea of an exhibit or booth, or the way that you want to set up your space, right? So we are welcoming proposals for exhibits from civil society organizations, United Nations entities, academic institutions, the private sector, and other relevant stakeholders. The objective is to provide a platform to showcase innovative ideas, initiatives, products, or services related to the conference theme, facilitating learning, engagement, collaboration, networking, and partnership among participants in the common pursuit of solving global problems. So the exhibits have to be able to relate to the overall theme of the conference and the goals. And so if you haven't already read the concept note for the Civil Society Conference, I highly recommend that you do so. And you can also find out more information on the conference website, and I'll be sharing that link very shortly. And so there's quite a bit that is asked in terms of being able to put together a proposal that is well thought out, but also very innovative, right? And so you want to be able to explore conference-related themes, issues, innovative solutions, technology, social media, and partnerships, including those with the private sector, and being able to showcase collaborative projects. And also, it's very important to note there are few pieces of information that I'm going over specifically because I want to make sure that everyone is aware of this. So when you are submitting your proposal, please be sure that you are also including a social media plan as well. So, if you're using social media, let's say that you like Instagram or Facebook. I love me some LinkedIn, right? So if I had a social media plan specifically for LinkedIn, then I would be able to share that in my proposal. And proposals are going to be evaluated based on the relevance to the conference theme and the goals and objectives of the Pact for the Future. So if this is the first time that you ever heard someone talking about the 5 chapters of the Pact for the Future, like Mai was going over, very briefly, then please be sure to look up this information. Please Google it. Make sure that you're getting this information directly so that you know what your proposal is going to look like. It's also important that it's relevant to civil society and that you can be able to express that or communicate that you have an online presence, that you are inclusive of underrepresented persons, regions, or themes. So thinking about diversity, thinking about access, thinking about inclusion, right? And being able to have documentation and description of proposed products, items, services, etc., to be exhibited that should be submitted for vetting via a link or email. So you should be able to send an email with this information. You can have attachments, or it could be a link itself, right? And so exhibit proposals would be accepted by organizations that are civil society organizations, private sector, academia, member states, as well as governments. Yes, no, I understand. And I appreciate your comment, Allison. Thank you so much. It is a tall order, right? We want to be able to put together this civil society conference. We've been so excited about having a civil society conference again since Salt Lake City, Utah. And even with this short timeline, we are just enthusiastic. We are determined. We are ready to be able to have an incredible civil society conference for the first time within the African continent. And so we are moving very quickly. We're moving in full steam, with full steam ahead, just full power ahead. And we ask that everyone just take this journey with us. We're going to be working extremely quickly, efficiently. A lot of information is being sent out as quickly as possible. And we want to make sure that you are in the know. And so this is why we're having this briefing, to make sure that at least you have this information. And we want to thank you so, so much for being here. Something that was really important to note is that a lot of the criteria that is being asked for these calls, or that the like Terry had shared, that the organization is accredited or associated with the Department of Global Communications or the Economic Social Council. This organization can also be accredited to another UN agency. Organizations can also be affiliated with one of the 4 core civil society networks organizing the conference with the Department of Global Communications, or DGC. So the Coalition for the UN We Need, or C4UN, the Global NGO Executive Committee, or GNEC, the Conference of Non-Governmental Organizations in Consultative Relationship with the United Nations, Congo, or the Major Groups and Other Stakeholders, MGOS, a coordination mechanism. So let's say, for example, you heard these names and you're like, I have not heard of any of these organizations. I don't know. I'm not associated with any of these agencies. I don't have that affiliation. How do I get involved, right? Well, if you are a part of, okay, let's say, if you are an organization that's headquartered or located within a member state of the Economic Commission for Africa, which is ECA, and there's the list of ECA member states, then you are also eligible to be able to submit a proposal. I'm gonna skip over to some exciting ideas. So let's say, for example, that you are saying, okay, what can I do right now? Maybe I'm not ready to think about, doing a workshop or, doing an exhibit, right? But I still want to get involved. How can I get involved? There are 2 ways, okay? One is the hashtag We Commit campaign. This is a campaign that is actually conference-wide, and it's as part of the planning committee for the UN 2024 Civil Society Conference. We're inviting partners as well as well-wishers to share a short video message, no longer than 2 minutes, in preparation for the upcoming 2024 UN Civil Society Conference in Nairobi, Kenya. So this is a social media campaign that we want it to go viral. And we need your help in order to make that possible. So for example, let's say that I'm the one who's doing a hashtag We Commit video. So I could say, for example, my name is Cairo, and I am a student at We Stand for Sustainable Present and Future School. And then I would answer the question, what commitment are you making for a better future? So you can say, I commit if it's just a video of you, or we commit if you're in a group setting and you want to send a message that says, we're committing as a group. So for example, if I were to do this right now, I would say, hi, my name is Cairo, and I commit to empowering women and youth with the skills they need to close pay gaps and create a more financially equitable society, right? And then after that commitment, you can end by saying, my message to civil society at the UN Civil Society Conference in Nairobi is, thank you so much for working as hard as you are. We're so excited that we're going to be doing more after this conference, whatever it is that you want to say. And then you would share your video with us directly on Instagram, on Twitter, and or TikTok with the hashtag WeCommit and hashtag 2024 UNCSC. So those are the official conference hashtags, hashtag 2024 UNCSC and hashtag WeCommit. And then you can tag the Civil Society Office for the Department of Global Communications, or the Civil Society Unit rather, at UNDGC_CSO. So please be sure to use the hashtags as well as the tag, the account at UNDGC_CSO, so we can amplify your message. Okay, so I want you to think, and the first thing that comes to mind that you commit to doing to create a more sustainable future. And I want you to put that in the chat. So I gave you the example of wanting to completely work towards reducing and eliminating gender pay gaps, right? For women and young people, right? What do you commit to? And while you're thinking about what you commit to, I want to move on to just one more thing that I want to share before we're able to then turn it back over. All right. And so the last thing that I wanted to share is, there was a question earlier about how can students get involved, right? This is an initiative called Youth Reporters, and it was actually an idea that was launched by our colleagues within the social media subcommittee for the planning committee. Young people play and have a crucial role to play as mobilizers and catalyzers at the United Nations Civil Society Conference. So the objectives of the Youth Reporter program is to really get engaged, to amplify the voices of youth and adolescents at the United Nations Civil Society Conference, to accelerate social media mobilization, right? To be able to mobilize stakeholders, to be active participants, and to be able to coordinate the multimedia zone at the UN Civil Society Conference, including conducting interviews, filming hashtag WeCommit videos with participants at the conference, and managing content creation at the zone. Requirements for all of these calls for proposals, as well as for the youth reporters, is that applicants must officially register for the conference on Indigo and be able to attend in person May 9th through May 10th. All right, and applicants should be young people with demonstrated interest in amplifying social issues and impactful initiatives for the future. With that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to my colleagues, Mai and Terry. Thank you so much for your questions. I also love what I'm seeing here, committing to advancing the idea of positive masculinity as a means to ending violence against women and girls and all forms of inequality. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Hi again. I'm really happy seeing the engagement with the We Commit campaign, even just launching it now in this call, and then people are already interacting. This is so cool. We wanted to be more and more interactive, so we had poll questions for you. Perfect. Grassroots engagement, accountability, Children's participation. Thank you so much. Young people leading, ambition, impact. I'm sure this is girls' rights. Thank you so much for participating. And if you didn't have the chance to participate, it's okay. But I'm really happy to see your thoughts here on the screen. And now we have Yugratna, the organizing partner from MGCY, Major Group on Children and Youth. She's gladly supporting us to close our first briefing, and maybe she can share more about the MGCY plans for engagement in the UN Civil Society Conference.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thanks, big congratulations to all the three co-chairs of the Youth and Intergenerational Subcommittee for putting this together. A major group for youth and children is one of the 9 major groups in the UN system that is mandated by the UN and then also mandated by the UN General Assembly to actually contribute and give inputs to the pact. That comes from the modalities resolution, if you look at it. And so we have been working very, very hard. Of course, Terry is one of our global focal points who is involved in the youth committee as a co-chair, and then there are different colleagues that are helping out in different spaces as well. I'm also in the conference planning committee, so we are working on that too. I think what we would like to mention is that there has been, a lot of conversations around Summit of the Future itself, and again, we recognize how important the civil society conference is in terms of providing that input and mobilizing broader community alongside everything else that young people have been doing to prepare for the Summit of the Future. So we absolutely 100% recognize the importance of that. I think there is 2 things that I wanted to share. For those of you that are interested to learn about how you can engage on the road to the summit, of course, beyond civil society conference, but also in lead up to it, we do have PowerPoint presentation or a sort of an info package that I just shared in the chat. And then we also have made a youth info hub for the Summit of the Future that you can find on the link tree. That I'm just putting both the links on the chat so you can go through them and understand a lot of this information and background and different things and topics. And again, Terry, Same and I are organizing partners for the major group, and Terry is one of our global focal points who's helping out. So please reach out to her if you want to get involved further and see what other different activities that you're seeing. Maybe worth mentioning is that some major groups are thinking of another civil society mobilization event on the 11th of May, once the Nairobi conference gets over on the 10th. So we're also seeing what we can do when it comes to youth perspective. But then again, the role of the subcommittees at that point would be over. We would have more of like a follow-up happening from the major group side. So that's again something we are really excited about. So once again, congratulations to both to all 3 youths that have been convening this, and also to all 200 and more of you for making time on a Friday morning, a Friday evening to be here. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so, so much. And one thing that I wanted to add before passing the mic back over to my fellow subcommittee co-chairs is that I really do want to make sure that everyone knows that the Department of Global Communications, or DGC, had put out a frequently asked questions, or FAQs. We did want to make sure that we were collecting questions, especially as information develops, so that we could, keep information up to date. But I do want to urge everyone to please go to www.un.org/civil society for more information. That is www.un.org/civil society.
So much, Mai and Cairo. So I think what I would just emphasize is for everyone to go through the frequently asked questions in the DGC website, but for everyone to also look out for the email that we will send following up after this briefing, that will have most of the other questions answered. We're going to make sure that we give you again the guidelines on registration and the activities where you can participate virtually. And it has been such an honor to have all of you here with us. and we look forward to seeing you again the next briefing.
Yeah, exactly. One final announcement, we will be conducting a second briefing. It will be, we will have more concrete information about the Intergenerational and Youth Subcommittee activities happening in Nairobi. So tune in, expect receiving another submission form to a second briefing, along with an advocacy, a children and youth advocacy training that will take place in April. Stay tuned.
And with that being said, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, start to your weekends. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you very, very soon. Bye.